So I'm back again, and I'm trying to keep this going at least a little bit better than I used to. And I wanted to do something that I've sort of done before, but I wanted to redo it. It's been so long, and I don't really talk a whole lot about this. But for some reason today, I woke up and I wanted to talk about him. So this is going to be about my son Wyatt. His name was Wyatt Alexander. He was born on April 2nd, 2013, and he became an angel on April 20th of 2013. He lived for 18 days, and he had trisomy 18, otherwise known as Edwards syndrome. But a lot of babies born with trisomy 18 don't. Basically, they say that trisomy 18 is incompatible with life. There are some stories out there, though, some wonderful stories of children who have lived for quite some time. During the pregnancy, I didn't know anything was wrong. I It was kind of, compared to Chloe, it was a breeze, really. The morning sickness wasn't as bad. I remember being really tired, and I remember during that pregnancy was when I experienced some of the most spiritual growth than I've ever experienced in my entire life. We were going to name him something else for the longest time until towards the end of the pregnancy. I had a dream, and I had a dream that the name Wyatt was on the wall in like pretty green and blue letters above his crib, an empty crib. And anytime that I had dreams about him, or about the baby that was coming, he was never in the bassinet or he was never in the crib. When I was pregnant with Chloe, my daughter, who is now 5, I had a dream about a little girl before I even knew I was pregnant. And now that I look back, I feel like she looked like Chloe. Like, she was a little blonde-haired girl, either 3 to 5, about her age now, and she was looking at a window, and I don't remember what I was saying to her, but in my journal entry that I wrote about her, I wrote that I was talking to her just like she was an adult, and it was very funny to me because I didn't have a lot of experience with children, so the way I was talking to her as though she would understand like an adult would understand was really funny to me, and that's kind of how I talk to her now. But when I dreamt about Wyatt, right before I found out I was pregnant with Wyatt, it was just a bassinet for a boy that we were setting up. And it was empty. I never saw him in my dreams. And towards the end of the pregnancy with Wyatt, I would get these little, I don't know how to describe it, positive messages. There was one that I'll always remember because I wrote it on the whiteboard in my kitchen. All you have is right now. Use your time wisely. And when he was born and had complications and didn't make it, that particular message really did something for me, because I've always had a problem living in the moment. I've always had a problem, worrying too much or anxious about things and living in the past or in the future. And there were things that I thought of when I was pregnant with him that really led to the biggest shift in my spiritual practice, in my entire life. But we didn't really know anything was wrong. But towards the end, they said his head was starting to seem like it wasn't developing, like, he wasn't as big as we thought he should be. So we were doing, what was it, NST tests to check his heart to make sure everything was okay. And they said it was a little bit slow, but they didn't seem worried. Nothing, I didn't do the genetics testing. I feel like a lot of people didn't understand how we couldn't know that he wasn't completely healthy. How could we not know? Didn't you go to your doctor's appointments? Why didn't you do the genetics test? Well, we didn't want to do the genetics test. We felt we didn't want any extra risks. And in a sense, maybe it's a good thing that we didn't do it. I got to enjoy my pregnancy. I got to have that time with him without worry. Until the end. Actually, I remember looking at his crib and I felt really bad. I felt like a really bad mom, but I thought Chloe was healthy and we got really lucky with her. What if that doesn't happen again? I need to mentally prepare myself. I might not be bringing him home, and I had no reason to think that. I had no reason to think that anything would be wrong, and I really didn't feel like wrong. I just felt I might need to mentally prepare for this. So, the day he was born, he was a scheduled C-section because the way my pelvis is shaped, I can't deliver vaginally. So he was scheduled for April 2nd. And I remember going in there thinking my entire life is going to change. It's just going to change. Nothing's going to be the same. I'm going to have 2 kids now. This is going to be crazy. This is going to be wild. And it took a couple of tries to get the spinal tap to work. That was nothing like my experience with Chloe at all. She was an emergency C-section because we didn't know that there was going to be any problems delivering. But oh my gosh, it was so painful and so frustrating trying to get the thing in there. But it didn't fully do its job. I felt everything. Well, one side felt nicely numb and everything, but the other side of my stomach didn't. I'm not going to get too detailish about that, but it was not fun. I felt him coming into this world, and I'm now really thankful for that pain because I got to experience him coming into this world and to feel it. I didn't get to see him right away because they saw that a couple things were wrong, and they said they had to take him to this other room. I didn't even get to see or touch my baby for the first couple hours of his life. Actually, I only got to touch his hand before they flew him off to another hospital that was like 5 hours away. So that was really hard. I was really determined to breastfeed. I had had a hard time with Chloe, and I was really disappointed about that, so I was really determined to produce breast milk for Wyatt. And my lactation consultant came in, and she was trying to help me at least get, try to start pumping, because she's like, you're not going to be able to breastfeed him. I can't really say a whole lot right now. Have you even gotten to see him? Do you even, like, it was almost like she was saying, do you even know, without saying it. And I was like, no, I haven't even got to see him. And she's like, give me your phone. Give me your phone. She's like, I'm not supposed to do this. Don't tell anybody. But I'm going to go take a picture for you. And my first 2 pictures of my son were taken by that lactation consultant that could have lost her job for doing that for me. I remember getting taken to another room and my doctor coming in and telling me that his heart and his kidneys weren't functioning the way that they should. and there was a lot of stuff I didn't completely understand. Like, I thought everything was fine. And then they told me, after waiting all day, that they were going to take him to Gainesville, which was about 5 to 6 hours away from where we lived. And, it's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, my son might not make it through the day, and you're taking him 5 hours away from me? I haven't even got to touch him or see him yet. It was terrifying. It was terrifying. I was really trying so hard to be strong, but at that point, I was, I nearly lost it. I remember healing from the C-section a lot quicker than I did with Chloe, but I was also really determined to pump. And like, this baby, who knows what's going to happen. I want him to have my breast milk. I want that. So I was really trying so hard, and I really tried to like work through my emotions the following days and really try to pump whatever I could for him. And I produced more for him under all that stress than I did with Chloe under the stress of becoming a mom. And I feel like for me that means a lot that I was able to do that and to follow that through the best I could, even though I couldn't actually breastfeed, the way most moms could. I had to put it through a tube. But so we went to Gainesville to go see him, and we stayed there for a couple of days to get the test. They asked us what we wanted to do, if we wanted to fight for life or let nature take its course, and that the chances for life were unlikely, especially in his condition. And a lot of people didn't understand this decision, but my husband and I sat and we talked about it, and we said we don't want to suffer. We don't want him to suffer any more than he needs to. He already looks like he's struggling to breathe. Why keep him here struggling just because we can't let him go? So we said, let nature take its course. And I had an almost 2-year-old at the time. She was 2. She was a lot to handle at that time. And I was also, healing, which really didn't turn out as bad as, healing with Chloe. But I had to take care of her. I still had to take care of things at the house. I still had to do things. And, she at that time would get into anything she wanted to get into. So I was really nervous about keeping her home. And they had offered having her in like a hospice care, like a comfort care that was near our home at the time to help us take care of him, because I didn't know what I was doing. And so we were able to go visit him every day. And a lot of people didn't understand that. Like, couldn't you bring him home? Couldn't they bring the equipment there? Couldn't they have a nurse come to your house? Wouldn't you want him with you every single minute of the day? Yes, I did. And I think about that sometimes now, like, maybe I should have done those things. But all you have is right now, right? Use your time wisely. And I feel like the people that he met in comfort care needed him. And the funny thing is, at that time, my best friend here in Florida, he was in the same room that her grandmother was in when she passed away. And my dad and I have a thing with sunflowers. He's passed away too. He passed away in 2009, right before I met my current husband. But there was a sunflower painting in his room, too. And when the day that he passed away, it was really sad because we had just been there. We were just there like an hour before, and it was the first picture, the only picture that I took, that I have, it looks like he's smiling. Like, right before he passed away, he was smiling at me, at us. I'm always going to appreciate that, you know. I felt really bad that I wasn't there. I was just a couple minutes too late. Getting to the comfort care, he had taken his last breath, probably while we were on the elevator, working our way up to his room. I did hold him, you know, I did want to hold him one last time. And they got a clip of his hair for me, so I have a little baggie in his Wyatt box. I have a Wyatt box with his blanket. You know, I have that in there, the stuff that was with him when he was on the plane. But it was so much more than trying to fight for him to live. It was so much more than, you know, the idea of having him home, or the idea of having him in comfort care, or the idea of, you know, am I doing enough? The idea of how much guilt can I let myself feel? I already feel enough, you know, and my husband already feels enough. You know, you find ways to blame yourself when, with something like this, it was neither of our faults. It really wasn't genetics. Anybody could end up with a baby with trisomy 18. You know, there's no room for blaming yourself. There's no room for, well, you could have done this. There's no room for that. Why put yourself through that? And why try to keep somebody alive that is struggling to breathe? There would be no quality of life for him. There's so much more for him than being in this little fragile body that just seems so helpless. Like, I loved having him here. I wish I could, you know, have him here now, you know, but I can't change it. And I feel like at that time, at least maybe the first year, hell, I mean, it's 2016 now, so the 3 years now. For a long time, I feel like I was in denial with the pain that I felt from losing him. I felt like I had to be strong for my husband. I felt like I had to be strong for my daughter, and everyone around me. And what was really hard was, you know, John would say, everybody's asking how you're doing, you know, how's Sherry doing? And, you know, they would see him at work and they would ask him, and it's like, well, who's asking how you're doing? You made him too. How many people really think about the fathers in these situations? And, you know, a lot of marriages have problems after child loss, and, you know, I'm not going to say a whole lot, but the pain from that. People are very used to pushing stuff aside. You know, we just got to get on with our life. There's nothing that we can change about it now, and it's so hard to really fully feel stuff like that. Or, you know, just, it's hard for people to feel stuff a lot of the time, right? I feel like, you know, the majority of society is just used to the quick fix. Move along, you know, bury it, keep going, you know. So I feel like, and I feel like I'm just now starting to admit this to myself, and maybe that's why I felt, you know, maybe I should talk about Wyatt today, is that I didn't fully feel it. And I'm still working on fully accepting and feeling it. And I was really good at saying that I accepted it, and trying to convince myself, you know, everything, you know, like, things happen the way they're supposed to, which is true. And I still believe that. And I did believe it then, but I don't think it was really, didn't really sink in. Like, I felt it, and I knew I believed it, but it didn't really, I wasn't 100% grasping on to the fact that there was really nothing that I could do. There's nothing I did wrong in my life that I've been punished for, you know. And the same thing with my husband, you know, because we both experience guilt, thinking, well, there was this one time I did this really bad thing, so it's my fault that we lost our baby, because God is mad at us because we screwed up, so now we don't get to have a son. No. And these are things that we have dealt with off and on, but I don't think that's it. You might have little fleeting moments of guilt and blame yourself for things sometimes, but I don't think that that's not God. In my opinion, that's not source. And other people needed him, I really feel. So, I have a book that was given to me by the hospice. It's a beautiful journal. I want to write in it. I've been wanting to write my story, my birth story and stuff in it, but I've been so nervous to write on the pages that I mean, that's how much book I have left to write in. I just haven't really wanted to write in it. I want to read a couple of things that people said about him. It was such a blessing to care for him. I know God has used Wyatt's short life to bless many people. Thank you for sharing him with us. May the little angel who touched my heart so dearly rest in peace, never forgotten and always in my heart. Excuse me. Baby Wyatt, thank you for loving us. Sorry. Baby Wyatt, thank you for loving us and letting us love you back. You reside in my heart always. Little Wyatt, what a beautiful blessing you were upon my life. Even though I knew you for a short while, those moments I spent taking care of you will stay with me forever. I may not know why you left this world so soon, but I do know you are in a better place. I want to take this time to thank Wyatt's parents for allowing me to take care of your beautiful son. May God bless you and your family in a special way. To Sherry, John, and Chloe, first of all, I want to tell you what a wonderful family you are. It takes a lot of strength to allow others to care for your baby. Wyatt touched so many lives during his 18 days on this earth. Lives were changed. Sadness turned into joy. Those who felt empty were filled with new purpose. All because of the love your little warrior gave each and every day. His fight on this earth may be over, but the memory of him and how he affected each of us will last through eternity. May each of you receive God's blessing and peace and healing as you move forward in your lives. And a lot of these are, a lot of thank yous. Your son is so precious and has touched my life. I love your son, and he is so handsome and such a beautiful little baby boy. Thank you for letting me be a part of his life. You are both beautiful and strong. Precious baby brings back a part of my life long forgotten. Always glad to hold and love a baby. Wyatt is beautiful and a blessing to all. This was on April 17th, 2013. So he was alive on this day. I came in at 5 this morning and Wyatt was fussy. We had a hard time settling him, and I finally discovered he settled best lying on the bed or on a pillow. I decided after a week and a half that he's just tired of us holding him all around the clock. I settled him on a pillow on my lap and watched him sleep. He must have had sweet dreams because he smiled several times. At 7, when the shift changed, several staff members came to say good morning and check on him. Every one of them claimed him, "How's my little man this morning, and how's my baby?" At about 8, I think that says Nurse Jamie, who was off duty, came in with a load of Wyatt's laundry. She spent some time loving on him before leaving. Sometimes when I look at him, I think he looks just like his mom. Other times just like Dad. Our little warrior has fought to see another day and has captured a few more hearts in the process. I mean, the things that people said in here. It's amazing. He is bringing out the best in others who show love and compassion. So, there's that. This is getting really long, but... And then at his, services, an artist that that helped care for him made us this. It's a beautiful painting in a really beautiful frame. There are 18 balloons, and they made it's like a yellow heart with his feet. It's amazing how something so small could have such a huge impact on so many lives. Thank you, Wyatt. Dedicated to the volunteers of Covenant Hospice. Thank you for the honor. And she started it on April 10th. And she named it something so small. So, I thought that was really sweet. I was really surprised. You know what I also noticed is really sweet and kind of cool. The birds at the top. There's two going this way and one going this way. It almost makes me think of me and John and then Wyatt. But it's like I want to draw like another bird in there if I'm going to say stuff like that for Chloe. After I lost him, things did get pretty confusing, especially that first year. In the process of trying to be strong, I was still denying a lot of pain. And within 1 month, my hair turned into like 5 different colors. You know, I bleached it, it was pink, then it was blonde, and then red, and then this like caramel color. Like, it was all over the place. My hair was falling out. I was cutting it, you know, I was doing all kinds of things to it. It was part of like the process of healing, I think. You know, some decisions were made, you know, the couple years after, and things really changed. And I'm just now coming back to a space that I was in when I was pregnant with him. You know, I might as well add this in here while I'm talking about big life changes and experiences. About exactly a year after he passed away in April 2014, we experienced a flood in our home, and it was a freak storm. There was really nothing seemed wrong. We just got a lot of rain, too much rain, and our home got flooded, and we lost almost everything. We were actually really blessed in that storm because there were people that lost everything. And we were able to save some things. So that was a blessing. But even still, in that experience, I feel I was more okay like, I was, maybe in, I'm not even going to try to say that. I felt the resistance when I was trying to say that. But what I did understand about losing our home and losing a lot of our stuff is that it was just stuff. And then the whole feeling that I was getting that whole week before, like, John, I really want to move. We need to think about moving, but like, let's pick a place. I just, I loved our duplex for the most part, but I kept saying, I want to move. I want to move. I want to move. I don't know what it is, but we really need to get out of here. We need to move. And then we had to. And there was, like, so many people lost homes. So many people were without at that time. I mean, it was really hard. Um, we had to clean up a lot of the mess ourselves. We had to. I just thought I saw a car pull up. Okay. We had to move, like, all of our stuff out of the bedrooms, like, out of the carpet, and start cleaning stuff up, start packing stuff up while we were waiting for, the apartment complex people, because they had, like, 2 locations. We had to wait for them to show up. It was a mess. It was a total mess. And the night that it happened, John was trying to talk to me on the phone while he was at work, and Chloe was in bed, and I'm like, John, the water, it just keeps getting higher and higher and higher. It's about to reach the bed. What do I do? I just remember walking through the water, almost up to my hips, with Chloe in my arm, and as much stuff as I could fit in this big ass duffel bag that we could hopefully save, because I thought I was going to lose everything. So I had, like, all my stuff that I used for work, as much clothes as I could fit in there, like, anything I could fit in there, I put in there, prepared to lose everything. And we had somebody come and rescue us, and the guy that came to rescue us, he was out, helping people get to safety and whatnot, and he, the second he crossed that bridge to come get us, it collapsed behind him. If he was just a second late, he would have fallen in that retention bridge. And that bridge collapsing is exactly what kept the water from continuing to rise. As soon as it collapsed, everything was like, whew, it was able to flood out, essentially. So because of that flood, we got pushed into a smaller town, a town over, and that was a blessing in itself in so many ways. My husband ended up transferring a couple of times. Finally, got the position that he wanted because of that. And I met people that I wouldn't have met if that didn't happen. I was able to move closer to my best friend that I was talking about earlier, that we were pushed together, thanks to Wyatt, a lot more. And I had met her when I first moved here in Florida. I met her in August of 2010, when we worked as cashiers together. So that's an interesting little bit to add in there too. But we ended up becoming neighbors because we couldn't find a place to stay, so now we live on the same street. And that's been an interesting journey with them. And it's beautiful here. It's a lot slower paced here. It's not like a bigger city like where we used to live. Despite the tragedies that I've experienced, I can still say that I'm grateful, because without those things, there's so many things that I wouldn't have read, so many people that I wouldn't have talked to, videos I wouldn't have watched, experiences I wouldn't have had, that have shaped me into the person that I'm becoming today. I used to be very oblivious. I used to be very afraid of myself, and I'm still a little bit afraid of myself. But there's a lot of things about myself that I could not have discovered had it not been for Wyatt and everything happening the way it did. You know, would I go back and change anything? Would I go back and be with him longer? That maybe. You know, spend more time at the hospice? Maybe. Would I change the decisions that I've made? Probably not. I didn't want him to suffer. And the people that met him were so grateful to have met him. They needed him. I needed him. But all those people that he was able to meet, he couldn't do that in my home. You know, he couldn't have the peaceful moments that he had with those people if I kept him home, fighting for life. So maybe it's more like embracing freedom instead of fighting for life, embracing your wings. That no matter what happens, the highs and the lows, we need those things. We need all of those things. It's not about the stuff. You know, it's not just about you. It's not just about me. Also, I guess another funny thing that, well, not funny, something that I can also share with you that I found recently at the library. And I really wasn't sure if I was going to grab anything. But I was looking at the books on the new bookshelf. And I found Heart Made Whole by Krista Black Gifford. I don't normally read books like this. I'll just put it that way. But she talks about losing her baby girl and her experience through her spirituality in God and child loss and healing through that. So I haven't really gotten too far into it because I just got it, but I just kind of grabbed it on a whim. I started to think, you know, I know it's been 3 years, but how much have I really fully addressed this? Like, not dwelling like I do with other things in the past, but really feeling and experiencing and acknowledging that this really happened. This was something that happened in our lives, and this is something that we've experienced. And if there's ever a random bit of pain that comes in, I'm not going to dwell on it. I'm going to feel it, and I'm going to move forward. I'm not going to dwell. I'm not going to bury it. There's nothing to be ashamed of. No, there's no decisions to be ashamed of. There's nothing embarrassing about losing a child. I mean, it doesn't feel very good. It's very scary. Sorry about that. The school just called and Chloe kind of had a mess at school. She's got syrup all over her, but we got that taken care of. Anyway, I was just attempting to wrap up my video and saying, you know, there's nothing to be ashamed of with child loss. There's, don't, basically telling myself, I don't need to feel ashamed. And if I want to talk about him, I'm going to talk about him. If I need to feel something, I'm going to feel it, and I'm going to let myself feel it. It's not stupid that 3 years have gone by and I still get teary-eyed thinking about my son that's no longer with me in the physical realm. You know, there's nothing wrong with still feeling something for it. I was kind of trying to tell myself that. But I am going to go ahead and wrap this up. I think that for the most part, I covered everything I wanted to when it comes to my experience with Wyatt and a little bit of natural disaster, a little bit of the beauty and the tragedy, because it's there, and it's not all black and white, you know. So I really appreciate you for watching this and listening to my story and being here on my channel. And if you've lost anything and you need to talk to somebody, don't hesitate to leave a comment below and share a little bit of your story, because we can find the light at the end of the tunnel. And much love to all of you.